Welcome to Reread. Today I'm on book 2 of Brian Daley's Han Solo trilogy, Han Solo's Revenge. I got a lot of notes here. It starts off where he is tricked by Zalarb, who's a slaver, and Zalarb has tricked Han Solo into hauling slaves. Now, Han Solo is vehemently against this. There'll be an uprising where Zalarb will die, but because the job was going to be worth 10,000 credits, Han Solo wants his money, so he starts going on pursuit to get his money from Zalarb's employer. Now, once again, in Brian Daley's book, there are some great moments. Some of my favorite moments are Han tells Chewbacca a joke, and you get to hear the punchline. It doesn't make any sense, but it's right as Chewbacca's taking a swig of his beer, and he spews it all out, and he's woofing and laughing, and he's accusing Han of doing that on purpose, timing that joke on purpose so he'd spew out his beer. And Han goes, yeah, but when Bullock's told me, he timed it just right and I spit out my food. I was laughing so hard. I love those little moments in there that, have nothing to do with the overall story, but are fun. Another moment is in his travels, they come across a girl named Fiola. She is the, not love interest, heroine maybe of this book here. And they go into a bar, and the alien thinks that they're both male and feels like, I'm female. And, the alien just can't tell the difference between male and female of the human species, which is funny, right? Because, humans can do the same for aliens, but that an alien can't tell the difference between two humans is funny. And since this book was written a long time ago, what a great concept, right? Years before its time that anyone would even think like that. Well, so he apologizes to them, lets them sit down, gets them their drink order immediately, and then later on, as they're talking and deliberating about what their next plan is, when the alien goes to give him the check, he went, why are you giving us a check? We just sat down here. We just got a seat. He was like, oh my, where were the two other humans that were here? He's like, I don't know, but it wasn't us. He's like, oh no, they walked out on me. Did you see where they went? Han's playing to the fact that he can't tell humans apart. And Fiola goes ahead and pays the bill and goes, Han, you're impossible. And he goes, hey, in this galaxy, it's every species, every man for himself. I love it. I love it. And it's stuff like that, the little nuances that Brian Daley puts in his books, the jokes, the humor is really well done. This is also, and I remember this joke too, Bullock's, it just says he says some curse words. And Han goes, hey, where'd you learn that? And he went, from you, Captain. Han goes, well, I love it. And of course, Bullocks and Blue Max are in this as well, and they're great. This is also the first publication appearance of Roa and Lywell, or whatever her name was. They'd gotten married and come together in A.C. Crispin's book. And reading it in chronological order now, it really fits well. A.C. Crispin did a fantastic job, because when you're reading Brian Daley's, when he goes, Roa, you're like, hey, it's Roa. And you're all excited because and it talks about that Roa took Han on his first Kessel run, which is in A.C. Crispin's book. And they did a lot of jobs together, which is in A.C. Crispin's book. You're like, yeah, I remember the good times with Roa. Yeah, but they didn't exist when that book was published. And I love how A.C. Crispin's novel fits seamlessly into this. So reading in chronological order, you get the feeling of, there's Roa, our good friend, and maybe he means a little bit more to you now, reading in chronological order. I've made some comments why you shouldn't read in chronological order, but in this case, and again, this is to A.C. Crispin's credit, she did a great job weaving his past history in with, Brian Daley's books. So when you see Roa, you're actually a little bit more excited and interested than you were. Now, another thing that Brian Daley does a little bit, there's a little chess board, Jajaric or whatever it's called, and it's just called the game board. And it's Chewbacca always playing with someone called Spray or whoever, and they're playing on the game board. And I really wish Brian Daley would have gone into the game and talked about what pieces do what moves and how to win the game and what strategies there are. Similar to how L. Neil Smith created the game of Sabacc. But he just talks about the game board and whether it was a good move or not, and if Chewbacca was going to win or the other person was going to win. Chewbacca's pretty good, but he loses every once in a while. And of course, you don't want to lose to a Wookiee. But the thing is, though, I wish he would have gone into more of the aspects and strategy of the game. like L. Neil Smith did with Sabak. That would have been way more helpful and interesting if he would have done it. Because all we're told is he did a move, and then Chewie countered, and then, and then he just switched off the board because he knew there was no chance to win. I like that they're using the game board. That in the EU, you hardly hear about Chewbacca or Han or anyone playing on that little game board. It's just there in the Falcon, probably used as a table more than a game board. But that they're I say constantly, that they've been playing it in Brian Daley's books is fun. Overall, this is also where he meets Galandro, and Han does not know who he is at this point. He subs in for someone who's going to have a duel with Galandro because he wants to see if this guy who Galandro is going to shoot knows where Zalar's boss is, to where he can get his 10,000 credits. And when he takes the place of this guy at the duel, Galandro basically gives up. He says, okay, well, you know what? I call the duel off then. And Galandro will meet back up with Han toward the end of the book and try to get the upper hand on Han just by sticking him up. But then Chewie takes him out, they capture him, and then drop him off somewhere. And basically that's the end. Now, of course, it's not the end of Galandro. There's going to be more going on. But it's funny because reading this for the second time, I could have sworn Galandro was in the first book. Like he was the overarching villain, like that priest was for the Lando Calrissian trilogy. And so I was a little surprised when I read the first book and Galandro wasn't in it. I was like, that's weird. I also was very confused because I thought that the space pirate Zalar was the one that he shot out the airlock. And of course, I was obviously wrong. I got corrected when I did the review a long time ago that I was getting those things confused. And that's the fun of rereading these Brian Daley novels, because what actions take place in what books, I keep forgetting. I remember them, but they're all kind of jumbled together. So what about book 3? Well, you have to find out sometime.